For those listening, this is Better Together. I'm with Dennis Simpson, former city council member and consistent. Would you call yourself a citizen watchdog?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've been called a lot worse.
Sure. Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. Me too. Well, Dennis, this you've already introduced yourself on the first time we did this, but let's go ahead and do it a second time. Tell us a little bit about yourself and why you do what you do.
Yeah. I've operated in my career in a very various roles, developing software as a CPA for many years, practicing, and I was a finance director at the Grand Junction School District. But we've been here for 30 years, and I became interested in government and its lack of honesty when I was in Durango, and got involved in a variety of things, including when the city of Durango discussed and voted to give their city manager a raise, and then in fact gave him a bigger raise than the one that they
On top of that, okay.
and there were a whole variety of different things that I was involved with there, including amending the city charter in Durango to limit the ability of the issuance of these things called certificates of participation without an election, which is basically admitted to put the taxpayers in debt without an election.
Right.
And I'm still a long way. I've still been fighting that whole concept. And the city of Grand Junction has laid out a path in the next year or two where I think they're going to do a significant amount of putting us in debt without an election. We talked about that.
Really?
And,
Okay.
You were involved.
Yeah.
We were able to cut down the 29 road interchange, at least partly because their proposal included the city paying for half using one of these instruments that are certificates of participation. And briefly, what a certificate of participation is government says we need something. Let's say it's a 29 road interchange, and they go out and borrow money and put a title on it that qualifies it to not, even though it looks, smells, and tastes like debt, it doesn't qualify under state law as debt.
Interesting.
Because they have a little hook in it that says we actually could, if we wanted to, not pay it back. But that's a bogus hook, because if any government, no government has ever not done a certificate of participation and then not paid it back.
Right.
Then the whole city debt structure or county debt structure would fall apart.
Right.
So nobody does it. Nobody even plans to do it. The last thing in the world they'll do is not make them certificate of participation. So it's in fact a debt. And the reason, how they do it is they tell us, say that we got an $80 million debt we want to incur, and this is what we're going to do with $80 million.
Right.
And by the way, when we go to market, we're not going to tell you about what kind of interest rate.
That was going to be my question.
Yeah.
Of the interest rate.
And so they go to the market and they don't pay say the market rate is 3%. They might pay 3.5% or 4% in their document. And what that allows them to do is when they close the bond, the COP, which is same as a bond, instead of getting $80 million, they might get $90 million. And then pay a higher interest rate over the terms of this instrument. And I just feel like that's totally not accountable.
Right.
They're planning on the front end, and they use these bond salesmen that say everybody does this, and unfortunately, about everybody does do this.
Right.
And so that has been a consistency through my dealing with government, of fighting those kinds of things, where we say one thing and do it another. That's why I've voted against the rec center.
Sure.
On match it, because I knew they were going to do that, and then they turned around and did it. And they did it in spades. Built a lot more rec centers than the way they told us they were going to build.
Right.
And they were getting approval from. Not that I'm necessarily opposed to a lot of the things they added on, but I'm definitely opposed to the way they did it.
That's always something, and why I wanted to sit down with you is like you remain principled. I've always at least seen that, when you were on council, and you've talked about it before of just like, you just want to hear the different options that they're going to keep on just putting forward what the city wants first, and sometimes not even bring up anything else.
Most times not even bring up anything else.
Yeah.
And that, I thought when I got on council that maybe I could at least convince enough other city councilors, this is the way you make a decision.
Mm-hmm.
You don't tell Greg Caton, the city manager, you go out, come up with one option, and then come back and tell us why that one is good, and just make no effort whatsoever to analyze another option that might be as good or at least
Better.
Better in the council's opinion.
Right.
Because when I was on council, I learned that unfortunately most councilors, the most important thing they want to do when they're on the council is to support the city manager. And that went on and on because unfortunately with my term, Kate was basically the city manager the whole time until just at the very end when Mike Bennett took over, but he wasn't doing anything. He was too new to actually change anything, and unfortunately, it doesn't appear that he's changed anything since.
Not much that I've seen. And like, I remember one thing that you fought for a long time was just to get an evaluation. Of the city manager.
Yeah, and we never did do that. They had. We talked about it a lot.
I saw him talking about it a ton.
And we hired a company out of Denver to help us evaluate the city manager, and then we couldn't come to an agreement of publishing that, and then laying out the goals and objectives that we wanted to see our city manager do. Because the majority of the council, not including me, was basically saying, we like what you're doing, just keep it up.
Yeah. Don't let us bother you.
That's one thing to say, well, okay, I didn't agree with that kind of thinking, but still, I mean, this guy's as good as he can get. We don't want to, and at the time, over the whole time I was on there was basically a big personality difference between the city attorney and the city manager.
True.
And I only knew that because it was in executive sessions, but now that both of them are gone, I see no reason to keep it a secret.
And I think it was pretty known, even from the community side. You could tell in council meetings that, they would be politically correct or professional about it, but you could see that there was disagreement.
Yeah. And I felt that John Shaver was given a really bad deal with how he was pigeonholed away from the real decision-making process when he had 30 years of experience, and he at least should have been treated, with respect as far as, you think this is what we ought to do? Well, maybe we'll do that, as opposed to, we already know what we're going to do, John. Just make sure you don't come to a meeting and say it's not legal.
Yeah, make it legal. That's your job.
Yeah.
So when you got into council, like I know you ran against Chuck the first time, Chuck McDaniel, and then it seemed like and then Heights, right? After that, second time. And so when you got in, like what were you hoping to do? And then what stopped you from doing that?
Or did you succeed? To do is redirect the city manager to a whole different way of thinking, knowing that probably was never going to happen.
Right.
So you could say, no, what I wanted the city manager to become, he couldn't become, so I want to get rid of him.
Sure.
But I was willing to let the others say, all right, if we're not happy with this guy, and if they would agree with me as to why we should be happy with this guy, that they might want to try and give him directive. But they didn't agree. I mean, later on, Chuck became more of an ally for me, but initially he was really against everything I would bring up.
Interesting.
And actually, at one time, they were considering censoring me because I said a bad thing about Rick Taggart.
Oh, okay.
in a meeting that wasn't public. And it got everybody all excited, but they ended up not censoring me. But I thought it would have been funny if they would have.
Yeah, sure, sure. But you become, isn't that, I mean, that's one thing that gets me too, is like, yeah, you might have some scuffles with somebody like Chuck McDaniel, but then they can come around sometimes too. Yeah.
Yeah, and another guy that I really respected on the council, he was only there for 2 years while I was there, Scott Balfour.
Mhm.
But when before he knew me and I knew him personally, I forget some website he went on there and said, Dennis Simpson is a till of the Hun. And whoever, there was a woman that she was running this regularly. And she said I hated women.
Oh,
And I said, I got these girls that are my daughters. Look at what they're doing. If I hated women, would I be doing that?
probably not. Right.
And they deleted that whole stream.
Okay. Yeah.
But I don't, Scott is like I did, and like every other counselor has problems in some areas.
Mhm.
But he is a pretty straight thinker when you can talk to him. But any counselor has to always balance. Well, am I going to vote on this issue knowing it's going to upset too many people? And then the next time when an issue that's really important to me comes up, they're going to be mad at me and they're just going to vote like they do with Dennis.
Beat them up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That's a fair point. And I guess that is like a political judgment that you have to make as a council member.
yes.
Is that something that surprised you as like, how did you handle that? Because I mean, I tend to think of you as someone that's really principled in regards to like making sure that people have a voice in something. But then also you have to, play the game sometimes, right?
Yeah, and I've seen too many people get elected and saying the right things and then get in there and play the game.
Right.
So I knew that was going to be the strategy from the insiders was, okay, Dennis, you said all that stuff when you were a citizen and when you were a candidate, but
Let's bring you in now.
you have to understand this is a team effort and you have to be on the team. And I never bought into that. I never changed too much. I tried to make some compromises. It didn't work out. And basically boiled down to they couldn't even think about the idea that we had the wrong city manager. I think they know that now.
Yeah.
I think, a lot of the people who served with when he was here know that was a big mistake.
Mhm.
But they didn't want to talk about it when I was the one bringing it to the table.
Right. Or just even for an evaluation, it can be a positive evaluation.
Yeah, it can.
If it,
Yeah.
If
Yeah,
you just prove you are paying attention.
but we all wanted basically to solve the difference between the county attorney and the city attorney and the city manager.
Mm.
And we could never, well, Greg didn't get great points on that. He got the number system because mostly I didn't give him very many high points. Oh, sure. But everybody wanted to try and solve the problem.
Get that
Nobody
relationship better.
wanted to give directive to anybody.
Mhm.
They wanted to have these two meet, maybe have maybe the mayor or some other council member meet with them, have them kiss and make up. And they needed direction. One needed to be told, stop doing what you're doing. This is what we want you to do. I know you don't want that, but, and I always push it hard for that person to be Greg to get told that your behavior is no longer acceptable.
Sure. Why do you see that? Why do you see that, deferring to those like unelected positions, by elected, because this is supposed to be a representative democracy that we're not really being represented a lot of times.
Yeah. It's kind of interesting. The system of electing and representatives on the city council or on the county commission are totally different in that the commissioners are expected to make a lot of decisions.
Mm-hmm.
In the city council, it's forever. That's not something the council should be, especially if it's something nobody wanted to go along with. Oh, that's
Sure.
not something we're a council manager system,
Mm-hmm.
and I guess I agree that a lot of the day-to-day stuff and uh, personnel stuff should be made by the city manager.
Sure.
But not to the point of city managers actually developing the policy.
Mm-hmm.
City manager should be
Executing.
developing options to policies. And even those ones he doesn't like, he should give a fair presentation of the other side of the argument
Right.
as to how else could we do things.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I just guess that's as far as I can go that one.
Well, do you think Junction should change its system around? No, you don't think it should be a strong mayor or anything like that?
The system is concerned. The key is to get a good city manager and to get a city council that
Holds them accountable.
holds them accountable and is willing to make a mistake once in a while, saying you screwed up, city manager, when in fact he or she didn't screw up, and to actually step in that far. Because the worst system is the county, where they have 1 hour meetings because they've already decided all of the things.
Sure.
They're in their little room. They don't respect their own system.
Mm.
They more want to just get the decisions done the way they want it done, and they don't care if anybody knows what options they examine or it's
Sure. Right.
it's set up bad at the building itself, or where those three people can just.
Their offices are next to each other.
Yeah, and they say they don't go walking back and forth, and maybe they don't, but they definitely have their county manager who wears out the carpet, running over to say, "This is what Janet thinks. What do you think?"
Sure.
And he gets them all into the same place without actually putting them in the same room.
Yeah, I think, I hear, and there's always those workarounds that are attempted, the daisy chain conversations of I'll go talk to him or her and then get back to you. And yeah. So, the argument there though is, we would spend, so much time arguing that we wouldn't get anything done. Like, is always the pushback, right?
Yeah, but you don't. I talked to Kathy Hall, who used to be on the county commission, and they had morning meetings that last all morning. They discuss things back and forth, and then they would vote.
Mhm.
But you can set time limits and say, okay, we're going to talk about this for 20 minutes, and we're going to take a vote. It might be 2-1, it might be 3-0, but we're not going to have the vote already decided before we even walk in. We're going to
Debate it.
We'll have read about it before, but we will not have heard the other position from the other council, the other commissioners.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. How do we change that? It's supposed to be how it works, but we're not seeing it work. So what do we do to change that?
You have to elect different people.
Mm.
That's the only way. People who understand how important the public's knowledge of what they're doing is. And unfortunately, we elect people primarily that are only interested in getting the right decisions in their mind.
Sure.
Out in the world.
Right.
Whether any of the rest of us understand how they got to that point.
Right.
There's a lot of public people that agree with that. We elect these guys and they can do anything they want. If they screw up bad enough, we'll elect somebody else.
Come let me know. Yeah. That's fair. Not saying that's correct. Yeah. But I think, why do you think it's so important to have like citizen watchdogs like yourself, or, we try and do some of that at Better Together just to kind of keep people, aware, but why do you think it's so important?
Well, I think the tendency of elected people, and particularly the bureaucracy, is to get their plan through, regardless of whether they comply with the law or not. And I think if we're going to have state laws that require this, we need somebody who would say, how did you make this decision? What was the process?
Right.
And, you know, Anna occasionally will bring that up, and she's actually using that kind of as an argument on the Robert Ballard issue. But
Oh, sure.
for the most part, I mean, you get involved, you spend the time. One way you can be a citizen watchdog is to be willing to spend a lot of time, and occasionally somebody will come along that is because they're outgoing. They stay after for a while,
Right.
but only on that particular issue because they had a personal interest. I have no personal interest, never have, in anything I've ever brought to the city council and the county commissioner. Never have I said if I could just get my way through, my life would be easier, or I'd make more money, or my property would be worth more.
It's not a not in my backyard issue.
Definitely.
It's
And then unfortunately, most people don't have time to do things that are not in their backyard.
yeah, agreed.
And
Agreed.
So I don't know. My son is a citizen advocate in Durango, kind of like I am.
Mm-hmm.
And he's been heavily involved in Durango, particularly at the city. But he's been spending more time than I do, finding out what they're doing at the city council.
What do you look for when you're spending time? Like, what do you focus on?
That doesn't smell right.
Okay.
When we, you know, right now the most one example is it doesn't smell right that the city has decided to back out of the housing situation.
Right.
And I don't think they ever had a meeting. Maybe you can correct me, but I don't how was that
I've seen op-eds.
decision? What?
I'm seeing a lot of op-eds about it, but I'm not seeing any votes or any. Yeah.
So I mean, that's the kind of stuff. An example of what I guess I'm going to have to go after now is, you know, what was the vote? I mean, did you do it over the phone or? Because one time when Pegger was mayor, I caught him doing a telephone vote on what the city manager was paid. I forget which one it was. I think it was before Caton was there, but they didn't actually even put it in a meeting, or they just gave him a raise.
Oh wow!
Because they had a phone free, you know, text messaging back and forth. And yeah, let's pay him that. And they had to eat that one and had to give me everything about how that decision was made.
Mm-hmm.
At least John Shaver knew that wasn't right.
Right. So is that one of your favorite tools? Is the Cora request? And did you do Cora requests while you were on council?
I did, yeah, one. And I got treated even worse after that because I asked for specific information about what went on down there at that, not Los Colones, but the other one. It's the GIDC or something like that. But anyway, I wanted to see who got the money because there was another one of these screwy financing. So he wouldn't tell me. City manager would not tell me. And he said, if the rest of the council wants you to get it, I'll get it for you. Jeez. But so I did a Cora request. And he gave me, rather than giving me what I asked for, he gave me with what he asked for, along with five to 10,000 other transactions.
Yeah.
He said were buried in there. And you know, that's not what Cora would require, but I wasn't going to sue him while I was on the council. Although I had lost a case that was really wrong right before, wrong to lose, because the judge said, you didn't give me enough documents. Well, the judge should say, well, this is the documents before I decide, give me this document.
Right.
And, but I was running council at the time, so I had to back out and couldn't appeal that, and I didn't think I would win the election. I was appealing a decision from a district court judge.
Fair. But it shows you've always been pushing and trying to get more out of our government. Well, kind of my last question for you here, and something that I think we disagree on a little bit. Something we disagree on a little bit.
Okay.
And that's a good thing.
Yeah,
I like
that is
disagree.
a good thing.
So Robert Ballard heading to Egypt. You know, the way I've phrased it in my mind is, okay, you know, he was elected. He has, you know, supporters. Let's let him give it a shot. See what he can do. I mean, I think the timing is going to be brutal, like 2:30 a.m. for city council meetings. But if he's not getting it done, then the people can say, look, man, You tried, you can't get it done. Take your time off, come back. Law says that you'll get reinstated because you have like a position that, you had to leave for.
Law does not say that.
Okay. Well, tell me.
The law says if you were in the National Guard and you got called up to go somewhere, and if you were not paid more than 90 days, then you're guaranteed a job, equal pay, doing something, but not necessarily getting back the same job you had. Right.
I thought there was additionally though with public officers, elected public officers and elected officials, I thought would get their position back.
No, only if they're not getting paid. If they're not getting paid by the government, then they're guaranteed to have the exact same job when they get back.
Okay.
That's one section of the law. The next section of the law says if you're getting paid, then all we're going to guarantee you is that you'll get a job.
Equal position.
Equal paid.
Okay.
So, I mean, a lot of what my involvement in the ballot issue is trying to get everybody to understand what the law says.
Right.
And a lot of, particularly, there's one guy particularly that shoots at me without really addressing it, based on the facts.
Because I've never felt like you were against Robert in any fashion,
but
personally.
But Robert's, the council considers, and I fought this, they think that the Monday meetings are not meetings. Because supposedly they don't make an official decision in those meetings. But now we're talking, but then they have Wednesday meetings, two a month that they admit are meetings where they're supposed to go. Or actually it's every 2 weeks.
Sure.
But in discussing the rubber ballot issue, they're assuming they only have, the city charter says 5 meetings. If you miss 5 meetings, you're out.
Right.
I'm oversimplifying.
Sure.
But they've thought that means 2.5 months. So there'd be 2 meetings in May, 2 meetings in June, and 1 meeting in July of the Wednesday meetings. But in fact, intertwined with all of that are these things workshops. So that basically you got 6 weeks to have 5 of those. And the other thing that they need to think about is, don't we do a lot of important things at workshops? And shouldn't he be there and commit to being there? Maybe missing 1 or 2, but not to assume he won't be at any workshop.
I wasn't aware of that. I thought that was part of the deal, was workshops as well as the Wednesday meeting.
They've always
brought that
talked
up.
about 2.5 months, and because they've refused. Abe was probably the worst one to admit that these are meetings we have on Monday. The law
On the agenda,
every
there's
time we get together
more than 3 of us.
that talk city business, that's a meeting.
Right.
So, and the charter, was written back probably way before they had they didn't probably have work sessions or anything like that. They just had meetings twice a month.
Right.
But then they decided to add more meetings, and they didn't change the charter. Said we didn't really mean workshop. We're in that, what we think are official meetings. So that's a lot. What I've been pushing is on the Robert ballot issue is make sure you know what the law says and follow that law.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of people that think you can't really do a good job if all you can muster the time to do is go to a meeting. And then there's nobody, in the daytime where he is, he's not going to be able to visit with constituents. And I forget who, I think it was in Sentinel, they said, you can run again when you get back in November of 2027 as an at large, but you shouldn't give up because of all of the factors. I mean, it's too easy to focus on. He's really a nice guy. And he's done a good job on the council, and we need to support our people in the service. But the focus should be on what's the best thing for the citizens of Grand Junction, not what's the best thing for him, which is what they're doing, and some getting very angry about the fact that, but not everybody agrees with that.
Well, I mean, you can be angry with me. I think
I'm not angry with you.
No, I know. We're good, but I think, I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt a little bit. I want to see if, and I think you're right in a lot of ways of, even if let's say he attends every single meeting for a year,
including workshops.
including workshops. Yep. He's still going to really struggle to fully represent what's going on here. Like, we're going to have the Homeward Bound shelter close.
Yeah.
We're going to see that. We're going to be on the ground. He's going to miss that. And at the same time, I've seen council members that live here, that show up to all the meetings, see what's going on, and don't respond to it at all anyways. Like, that are unresponsive council members, even though they're here in person. And so if Robert can still be a good, responsive council member in Egypt, not ideal, not even close to ideal. However, it could be okay, at least. That's what
Understand your point. I'm not going to argue with it.
hope springs internal for me.
But the other one that's going on right now that I don't know if you have time for is
Let's go into it.
is the appointment of the new city attorney.
Yeah, you've been tracking that a lot too.
Yeah, and I guess they're going to have some kind of a meeting in a week or two to decide some process to actually go out and search for a new city attorney.
Well, good.
The path has been drawn mostly, I believe, by Cody Kennedy, that this ex-cop who's practiced a lot about policing basically
Yeah.
legal issues, not anything much to
City
do with
law.
anything else, is on the fast track to get in there. And the plan initially was, well, someday we're going to put him as an interim.
Yeah.
That gave him the job totally violated the open meeting law, because they discussed this in an executive session. The whole, what are we going to do about John Chambers?
Mm.
And the plan was, after several months, we'll all be able to see what a good attorney this guy is. He will have experience being, something other than the police department's attorney.
Right.
And one of the things I wrote and was never denied about is that Cody knows this guy pretty well. He
Sure.
was on the police force with Cody, and this is kind of, whether Cody can be independent on this, is the best guy or not, is questionable.
Right. So you're even considering that he should recuse himself from this hiring or interviewing at least this person?
Well, I haven't gone that far yet,
Okay.
but I think but because I really don't know. I mean, the council hasn't asked him to explain your relationship with this guy.
Sure.
If they have, they haven't done it in public, which they should do.
Well, this is kind of where you talked about before, that if it smells fishy, if it's,
Yeah.
if there's smoke, you're going to be curious.
Yeah.
On it. Okay. So what do you, let's talk about that real quick. So what are your next steps? Like, this is an example of what you do as a citizen
Yeah.
watchdog. So what are you going to do?
I have to wait until they act.
Okay.
I put them on, I think I had something to do with, we're not going to do it someday. We're going to do it now. Although we'll see, it may still end up being a someday deal if Cody gets his way. But I will react as a citizen watchdog after I find out what they did with what I've told them already.
Right.
And if they keep on the same path and, pretend like nothing changed, then it'll depend a lot on the process they use. And depending on what they do, I may take further action.
Perfect. Well, Dennis, thank you so much for joining us today. We definitely want to stay in contact with you. You have a Facebook page,
Transparency in Mesa County.
perfect. All right. Thank you again, Dennis. Always good to see you.
Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Special thank you to our Patreon members. We are 100% community funded, and your support goes a long way. You can become a member at patreon.com/bettertogether, and we have several options and perks, so check it out.